There's something unsettling about a ringing phone, that sharp sound cutting through the silence of night, demanding your attention. We answer without thinking, expecting a familiar voice, a word, a message. But what if all you heard was silence, no words, no explanation, just the faint sound of breathing on the other side? Tonight, we explore one of the most chilling mysteries of modern times, the silent phone calls that seem to come from nowhere, leaving fear in their wake. The phenomenon first began decades ago, long before caller ID or mobile phones. Families would report their landline ringing in the dead of night. At first, they thought it was a mistake, maybe someone dialing the wrong number, but the calls kept coming. Each time when they picked up, there was no voice, just a long pause, followed by static or faint breathing that raised the hairs on the back of their neck. For some households, the calls continued for weeks, always around the same time, always after midnight. People began to lose sleep, staring at the phone with dread as the hours ticked by, knowing it would soon ring again. Some tried unplugging the phone, but somehow, when they reconnected it, the first sound they heard was a dial tone, followed by that same eerie silence. In the 1970s, a small town in America was shaken by a wave of these calls. Dozens of families reported identical experiences. Some claimed the calls were accompanied by strange disturbances, lights flickering, radios turning on by themselves, dogs barking violently at empty corners of the room. Police investigated, suspecting prank callers, but tracing the lines led nowhere. The calls didn't originate from local numbers. In some cases, the line was traced back to phones that were disconnected, or even stranger, numbers that didn't exist at all. One particularly disturbing case involved a widow who had recently lost her husband. A week after his funeral, she began receiving silent calls every night. At first, she dismissed them as cruel pranks, but then she swore she could hear something beyond the silence, the faint sound of her husband's voice whispering her name, lost beneath the static. Terrified, she unplugged the phone, only for it to ring again, despite being disconnected. Witnesses claimed they saw the cord hanging loose from the wall, yet the bell echoed through the house. And technology advanced, the calls didn't stop. In the early 2000s, mobile phone users started reporting them too. People would receive calls from numbers they didn't recognize, only to answer and hear nothing but silence. Or worse, distorted whispers in languages they couldn't understand. Some calls even appeared to come from the recipient's own number, as if their phone was calling itself. Experts called it a glitch, a failure in the network. But how do you explain the voices that some swore they heard? Paranormal researchers believe these calls may be attempts from the other side. Spirits reaching through the wires, using electricity to communicate. They point to electronic voice phenomena, where recordings capture unexplained voices as evidence. Skeptics argue it's simply a technical malfunction, a cross-connection in the lines. But if it were just that, why do so many describe the same chilling details, the breathing, the whispers, the strange sensation that someone is listening on the other end? Perhaps the most terrifying part is the pattern. Many victims reported that the calls grew more frequent over time, starting once a week, then every night, then multiple times in a single hour. Some people claimed the calls seemed to follow them, no matter where they moved, and in a few cases, the calls stopped only after tragedy struck. The death of a family member, an accident, or unexplained illness. There's a chilling story of a man who received silent calls months. Each time he felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something terrible was about to happen. He confided in friends who told him it was nothing, just a prank. But one evening, after another call, he went to bed and never woke up. Doctors ruled it as a sudden heart failure, but his family believes the calls were a warning, or perhaps the cause. Even today, with modern smartphones and encrypted networks, reports continue. Some people have recordings of these calls, hours of silence broken by faint, almost inaudible whispers. Analysts tried to decode them, but the sounds don't match any known language. Others say the voices sound layered, like dozens of people speaking at once, buried beneath the static. So what are these calls? Are they pranks, glitches in the system, or something darker? Are they voices of the dead, reaching out in desperation, or forces we cannot understand, toying with us from beyond? We may never have the answer, but one thing is certain. There is something deeply unsettling about the phone ringing in the dead of night, because on the other side of that line, there may not be a person, just silence, just whispers, just voices in the dark. And the scariest part is this: the next time your phone rings after midnight, will you dare to answer?